Throughout my teen years, I had steered clear of fast food jobs. I know that the jobs are easier to obtain and the pay is quite a bit over minimum wage, but it looked like too much work for me, and on top of that, stressful. But my PC wasn't going to upgrade itself, and after 3 months without a job, I had drained my bank account. I decided to apply at a local fast food restaurant. I won't say the name of it, but I live in the Midwest United States, and I'm pretty sure this place is strictly a Midwestern thing. Anyways, I applied at this restaurant because the pay was good, and it was only 2 minutes away from my house. I quickly received an email asking to set up an interview. Within the week, I was employed and started my new job. My first day was awesome. All of the people were super kind to me, unlike many other work environments I've been in before. It felt like I was part of the team immediately. The job I would be doing was drive-thru. To be honest, it was hard work, but at a starting wage of $11 an hour, it was worth it to me. The hours I work are weekdays, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. The drive-thru window had a register to take money, a soda machine to make drinks, and a monitor that showed the camera feed of the drive-thru menu. Cars pull up, I take the order, make the drinks, and cash them out. My first day was going great. As I said before, everyone was super nice, and there was a cute girl named Kim. I kept catching her staring at me, and we started flirting a little bit in the breaks we had. She was super cool and down to earth, and quite pretty as well. As the day got later, everyone seemed to get quieter. I wasn't surprised. It was getting late, and most of my coworkers had been working all day, including Kim. I was hanging out at my station since no one seemed particularly talkative. I focused on the drive-thru camera feed and noted the lack of cars. It was going to be 6 o'clock, and I thought we'd be getting a dinner rush by now. As the sun set, the camera feed became harder and harder to see clearly. I guess there is a 10-minute window of time where the camera has to realize it's dark out and switch to night vision. During this time, there were no cars coming through. I also noted that the dining room was quite empty as well. I stood against the counter for another few minutes. There was no point watching the camera footage, since it was about 97% static at this point. Suddenly, I heard the familiar beep in my headset notifying me there was a car at the menu board. It also goes over the speaker in the kitchen, and it was so quiet that everyone jumped at the sound. I felt silly for jumping at a noise I had heard at least 30 times that night already, but I looked around and all my coworkers seemed unnerved. I reached up to my ear and pressed the button to start communication to the menu. "Hi, welcome to this place. What can I get started for you?" I said. I looked up and noted that the camera feed was still static. The voice on the other end cleared their throat. "Hello?" The voice was an unnatural falsetto. I was told when I was hired that people like to come up to the drive-thru and be Mr. Comedian, but something about the voice made my stomach drop and my chest get hot. I felt like I had been caught doing something illegal. The sense of dread made me feel sick, and I wanted to cry. After a second, I composed myself and replied, "Yes, hello, what can I get for you?" The next voice was the same weird female imitation, but instead of coming through my headset, it sounded like it was coming from behind me or in the kitchen. "Yes, I would like some of your food." There was nothing sinister about the order, but the voice sounded like it wanted to punish me, and almost like it was mocking me. I threw the headset off my head and looked around at the kitchen. Every employee was looking at me. They all seemed sad. Kim looked the worse. She was almost in tears. I fell to the ground and covered my ears. I swear I could still hear the evil voice. What happened next made the tears start flowing. Above and behind me, I heard a light tapping on the drive-thru window. I was too terrified to move, let alone look out the window at whatever was out there. The whole ordeal happened in the span of about 1 minute. And just as soon as it started, it ended. Everyone returned to work, and customers started entering the store again. I was startled by the beep of a car at the menu. I took the order, made the drinks, and cashed the customer out. We all pretended like nothing happened until close. As I was cleaning my station, Kim came over to me. She told me she was sorry for not telling me. Every night that thing comes through the drive-thru. Besides, what you went through tonight, nothing else ever occurs. Sometimes we leave out food at the window and it remains untouched. We all try to ignore it. What was wrong with his voice? I asked. Kim started. Him? That thing is not a him. Sometimes the voice is a woman, sometimes a man. There have even been a few times where it's a dog barking. You got a particularly creepy voice tonight. What about the tapping on the window? I asked. What tapping? I left right then and drove home. I got home and immediately started writing this down. I don't know what it is, or if it's dangerous. I need help deciding what to do. Obviously, the best opinion in my head right now is to quit and never eat there again. I just don't know. I'm 19 years old, and I've been working for 6 months as a manager of a busy, popular fast food restaurant. I'm in college, and since my classes are in the morning, I close the store 4 nights a week. Recently, some very strange things have been going on at the store after hours, and I'm starting to get worried. We're a typical fast food place for the most part. We open at 6 every morning, and we close at 10 p.m. I'm a closing manager, so I come in at 2 in the afternoon. And by the time I'm finished closing everything and finally leave, it's usually around 11:30 or midnight. I'm always the last person left at the store at night because I have to stay later to make sure the equipment was shut down properly, run reports on the daily sales, and other things. The particular store that I work at is located in a pretty wealthy area of town, which means that our customers tend to be really demanding. This makes running the shift and dealing with customers stressful. So, I'm usually in a really bad mood by the end of the night. I enjoy having some time to myself after all the other employees have left. And sometimes, I'll hang out at the store for a little while when it's quiet to blow off some steam and decompress. 3 nights ago, at about 11:25, everyone had been gone for about half an hour, and I was sitting in one of the booths up front on my phone. Normally, I enjoy spending time at the store alone at night, but for some reason, I was really feeling on edge. It had been an especially difficult day, and I'd had to deal with a lot of angry customers, so they may have had something to do with it. Either way, I had this sort of unnerving, jittery feeling, almost as though the store itself wanted me to leave. I got out of my booth and went back to grab my stuff, and set the alarm so I could leave. Suddenly, the hum of the AC stopped, and everything was silent in the store. From up front, I faintly heard a child's laugh. I froze, terrified. I frantically thought back to earlier that night, and I was positive that I had locked all the doors and shut all the equipment off. I stayed in the back for a few minutes listening, but I didn't hear anything else, so I slowly walked back up front. Nothing looked out of place, and I started to feel better as I saw that everything was normal. I went to the back of the store, grabbed my stuff, set the alarm, and left. 2 nights ago, it was around 11:15. I was still finishing up my walkthrough of the store. As I made my way around the kitchen, I noticed that there was still a small load of trash that no one had taken out to the dumpster. We're not supposed to leave any trash in the store overnight because of the health code, so I had to take it out. The parking lot lights had already been turned off, and as I walked across the parking lot to the dumpster, the same uneasy feeling from the night before started to return. I recalled the story that had been in the news recently about a little girl who was killed and left behind a dumpster outside of another branch of the fast food restaurant that I work at, a few blocks down the road. I opened the gate to the dumpster and walked back to the store to get the trash. I started throwing the bags into the dumpster, and as I did so, the feeling that I was being watched started creeping up on me. And at one point, I could have sworn I heard footsteps. I turned around several times, but didn't see anything. Finally, I finished with the trash and closed the gate behind me. As I turned to walk back to the store, I heard the same laugh from the night before coming from inside the dumpster. I bolted back inside, set the alarm, and went home. Last night, I didn't stay at the store any later than I had to. At 11 o'clock, I had just set the alarm and walked out the door. As I quickly walked across the parking lot to my car, I glanced back at the store. What I saw made me stop and stare. The tunnels of the playground were shaking. I watched as they continued to shake harder and harder, until they abruptly stopped. Then, I heard that all too familiar laugh again, and saw a little girl, no more than 5 or 6, standing at one of the windows laughing hysterically. Today, I came in at 2 as usual, and the opening manager handed me a small folded piece of paper. "Look at this," he said. "One of the employees found it when she was cleaning up the playground this morning." I unfolded the piece of paper, and on it was a child's drawing of the logo of my restaurant, a smiley face and the words, "I'll never leave." I'm writing this at 4 as I'm sitting on my break, and I'm dreading closing tonight. I really don't know what to expect, but if this keeps happening, I'm going to look for another job. I can't believe it. A full 13 years of my life in a school system that has caused me nothing but stress and anxiety. 4 years of my life wasting my resources and money at community college. And all it's landed me is a crap job at McDonald's. You know there's something wrong with the American education when you dedicate your entire youth to a system that you were forced into, and all it gets you is a minimum wage job at some fast food place. While I may be venting about my personal life, I am not writing this as a means of coping with my suppressed anger. This is something that has been slowly ruining my life to the point where I'm even too scared to leave my own house. To start, I've been working at this job for about 6 months now. I'm a male in my mid-20s, and I've had a long history of meeting weirdos and creeps, but this one certainly takes the cake. Ever since I started working here, there was this guy, Joe. He was a middle-aged man that had glasses and a comb-over with blindingly white skin. I would rarely see him talking. In fact, I don't think I've ever even seen him converse with any of the work staff on a conversational level when I started working there. Now I know what you're thinking. Maybe this guy's an introvert, or maybe he has some social disorders and he just prefers to stay quiet. But let me tell you, actions speak louder than words, my friends. And what this guy has done to me, to my colleagues, will haunt us for the rest of our lives. The only time I saw him express some real emotion was when he left his phone on the counter. I picked it up just to see what sort of background this guy had, seeing as he was so strange. He immediately came back and snatched it out of my hands. "Don't ever touch my phone." That was the very first time I had ever heard him yell in all the time I had been working there. One day, Joe came into work with an entirely different persona. He had been proposing we all start doing all new things with the McDonald's. All of them were either disturbing, creepy, or just flat out disgusting. One of his proposals was that he start dressing up like Ronald McDonald and having tickle fights with the kids. I don't know if I stated this already, but this guy is in his 40s, and he's acting like it's completely normal. I passed it off as I thought he was trying to make me laugh with some sort of awkward humor that only someone like him could muster. One of my other coworkers, Maya, had told me that he said that he thought it would be funny if he started hiding in people's cars and surprising them with free Happy Meals. Said that it would bring people back to McDonald's more often. In the coming weeks, he would start asking us more personal questions. Like, what we think the age of consent should be, and what we think happens after we die. He told us that he believed that there are slaves in the afterlife, and that people like Hitler will have the most slaves because he killed the most people. This guy was just getting creepier by the day. Last week, we found a hidden camera in the women's restroom ventilation. We checked to see who put it in there, but we couldn't make out a face, and it definitely had to be one of the staff members, because all we could see was a uniform. My manager started accusing people of it, mainly the guys, which was me, these two other guys, and Joe. Joe remained silent like he had always did, and just awkwardly looked around the place while talking, so my manager assumed it couldn't have been him. Finally, one day Joe had said that he was going outside to smoke, and he had left his phone in the back of the McDonald's. Maya and I had been trying to guess the password, and miraculously, we opened it being 4321. This guy was not very clever. As we scrolled through his camera roll, he had discovered a couple of pictures of kids on his phone. Maya had told me that she didn't even know Joe had kids. But as we continuously scrolled through his camera roll, we saw that there were provocative pictures of kids from all ages taken inside the McDonald's. We immediately showed our manager, and we waited for him to come back inside. When he came back, my manager tore him a new one and said that she would be contacting the police. He immediately glared at Maya and I, and he muttered softly, You went through my phone?" After that, he started walking towards us, and we immediately got out of there and waited for the police. They arrested him, and we haven't seen him since. Now, this is where it's been getting strange. A month had gone by, and Maya and I had been getting close. We started going out, and in some strange way, the incident had made us bond more, and had led to us seeing each other. Life seems to work in very odd ways. One night, we went out and we went to the movies for a date. It wasn't until midway through the movie that someone with a comb-over haircut and glasses got up from his seat and exited the theater. Maya had looked at me and asked if I had seen that guy. I nodded my head, and we both just spent the rest of the movie wondering if it had been Joe. As we were going back to my car, I looked inside my window to find there was a Happy Meal just lying in my car seat. Now, the last thing I would ever bring on a date is a Happy Meal, and it had not been there before. But what freaked me out was whoever put it there must have gotten it no more than a half an hour prior, because it was too hot for it to have been sitting there for a substantial amount of time. We looked through it, and it was a standard Happy Meal, and nothing was out of the ordinary. I realized that it was indeed Joe we saw in the theater. That would mean he must have been watching us, and even knew which car was mine and had put it there. I immediately threw it out, and we left to go back home. It was one Sunday afternoon when Maya texted me a very odd message that broke my heart. "I'm sorry to tell you this, but we need to break up. I have been seeing another guy, and unfortunately, we can't see each other anymore. Don't take this the wrong way. You're a very likable guy. I'm asking you, please don't hate me for this. I hope in the end, we can still be friends." I completely lost it. What the hell? What did I even do for this to happen to me? I called her, and she didn't pick up. I Snapchatted her, and she never even opened it. I also called her house phone, and she didn't respond. This had to be a joke, or a prank, or something. Then I realized that every letter in the text that was capitalized spelled something. Have, each, likable, please, me, and help me. I immediately took my car and drove over to her house as fast as I could. I rang her doorbell multiple times and no one answered. Her car was gone, and I went through her back door and no one was in the house. I called the police and there was a full-on investigation. She was gone. I couldn't believe it. I had told the police of everything that had happened and they are still looking for her. I have been crying every night since then. This was my fault. Joe had taken her, all because I thought it would have been funny to go through his phone. The only good thing to happen to me in the last 10 years of my life was gone. It's been a month, and I still haven't recovered. Maya has still not been found, and I have become a raging alcoholic because of it. It wasn't until yesterday morning that I was taking the order through the drive-thru speakers that someone on the other end just didn't talk. "Hello?" I had asked. Then the person on the other end started screaming. It wasn't until then I kept listening that I realized it was Maya's voice. She was crying in agony. "Please don't kill me." Then the screaming got more intense. I nearly vomited. Finally, the screaming stopped, and I had realized it had been a video that the person put against the microphone. The final words the man spoke into the mic was, "I told you not to go through my phone." Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I appreciate it a lot. And also, big thanks to my patrons, and if you want to support me, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. And if you want to hear more scary stories in the future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you.